好，各位医生，大家晚上好。大家 Labor Day 快乐哈！我们这是 weekend。今天晚上呢，我们的 webinar 呢，主要是由我们两位，我们 NDPO 的board member 给我们讲，OK。一位是 Dr. Harold 许医生，一位是韩医生Dr. 艾利森韩。那他们讲呢，主要是有关于诊所管理方面。我想哈，现在大家都非常清楚，我们每个不管是你在个体行医，个体行医，OK，你个人行医，或者是我们在 DSO 里做，OK，我们实际上我们每个牙医都面临到很大的挑战。那在这种挑战当中呢，我们作为牙医，因为我们知道之所以有这么多的DSO 呢，乃是说到有很多的资本进入到我们这个齿科市场他们看到这个我们牙医这个行业是叫他们管我们牙医叫做 healthy revenue。OK，所以说他们看的这是一块肉，都想进来拿一块。这个东西这样给我们医生做的很难受，你知道吧？不管是医生了，甚至在这整个dentistry industry 里头哈，这些 supply company 和 manufacturer 都很难受。OK，因为资本呢想在这里搞，但是我们在这种怎么来应用，来应对这种情形呢？那我想哈，我们今天呢，我们请到这个许医生和那个汉罗的许医生和爱丽森韩医生给我们来讲。那我先介绍一下的吧，看看今天，先介绍那个 Harold Dr. Harold 许医生啊。许医生是我们 NDPO 的board member。那许医生他是来自香港那他现在是在佛罗里达的迈阿密行医。那许医生呢，他有多家诊所，4家诊所他也是非常活跃。在我在过去这几年当中，我非常感谢到这许对我们 NDPO 的支持。我感觉好像我们每次开会，不管在休斯顿、三东的许医生都来参加，并且我非常感恩的一件事情，就是许医生他中文不是特别好，OK，他主要是英文，但是他对我们说华语的这些牙医呢也非常非常的爱所以说每次都来参加。那他今天呢，因为许医生他本身他有2个诊所，在过去的一些年日当中呢，他也曾经参与过这个 DSO 方面的一些发起和运营，他有很多的经验，他会今天跟大家分享。那许医生分享完事呢，我们还有那个刀特艾利森韩。那韩医生也在我们抛头当中呢，在我们那个 NDPO 晚上呢也讲过几次课上一次在我们的 Fullerton 这边Academy 这边这个去年呢他也来了。那经过还有一次在拉斯维加斯。那在这几次接触当中我发现这个 Dr. 韩爱丽森他是非常非常特别的一位医生，OK，他自己运营了一家诊所，非常效益都非常非常好，并且呢，因为他在西雅图嘛，那他接触了很多的 data scientist，还有一些做 AI 的，那他自己本身呢对这方面自己诊所的管理的好，那他就开发出来。利用当地的资源开发出来一套这个 AI 这个管理软件，他已经以前跟我们分享过，叫做是 Life Seed，那这个软件。那我发现有多次接触之后，我发现这个软件呢，very very powerful。它不仅能够在这个我们诊所的 revenue cycle management 中起很大的作用，它管理我们整个的诊所。都 supply 啦、lab 啦都可以我亲自看过他给我们的这个展示所以说呢，今天我们有幸请到这2位讲员，我感到非常非常的高兴。那好不好？那现在我们这个我就不多说了我们现在先请这个许医生 Dr. Harold 许医生来分享，好不好？嗯，
Thank
来
you, Dr. John. I don't know if everybody can hear me.
Yeah, you're
They hear-
good.
Okay. Dr. John is right. My Mandarin kind of sucks. So I have no choice but to use English. So if you don't understand, you can always ask me a question later on. Ultimately, I have to put in my small disclaimer. My disclaimer is the fact that none of these things that I talk about actually come from me. All the things that I ever learned is actually coming from somebody else who is way smarter than I am, way better than I am, way more intelligent than I am. I basically just copy and paste whatever they teach me. So I want everybody to know that it's just not something that I made and created. But let me see if I can put something together. Okay, let's start to talk about the CSO. The DSO, I think, is a very interesting topic in the fact that most of us, look at it as corporate dentistry. And corporate dentistry is very important because the fact that it's starting to come up everywhere. Everywhere you go, you see Aspen, and everywhere you go, you see, a lot of different company. And then sometimes, when I'm in the class, the John will say, "Oh, Aspen just take over Clear Choice, for $1.1 billion." And then you start thinking about, wow, this company can really worth that much money. And do they actually start it like that, or do they actually, slowly evolve like that? As far as today, you probably recognize that, everybody is doing full arch, everybody is doing AI, and everybody is doing a lot of different things in dentistry. But the most important thing, I think, the key is understanding the standard of care. In the old days, I would say, 20 years ago, people are still in paper charts. They're still in, Kodak X-ray. Today, you have to be somehow in some kind of digital, scanner. You have to be somehow in some kind of digital X-ray, and you have to be able to read cone beam CT. So the changes over time have given us, a way that we have no choice but to catch up. So one of the things that I noticed, even though I have a couple of offices and even though I have many, many associates, I find out on the personal experience is it's very hard to get talent. The reason why I think it's very hard to get talent is the fact that a lot of the associates, nowadays they ask for a minimum guarantee. And most of the time, a lot of them really don't know a lot. And you have to teach them and coach them. And then as far as the employee is concerned, you don't always get the top-notch employee. So those are the complications and the difficulties in order to compete with the rest of the standard. Because if everybody else, be able to get that particular standard that I mentioned about, and you are fighting to get that standard, that means your bottom line is going to go difficult. So today I'm just talking about, more about why we need to go into it, perhaps how to go to a DSO, and why, we need to be DSO ready. Because when you're DSO ready, you actually have more opportunities. Your opportunities, maybe we can erase some of our past experience. Forget about the past and think about the future. Because I always think that, your goal should always come from your future instead of your past. So your goal should be focusing to the future direction as far as, what can I do if I want to increase the value of my practice? What can I do if I want to efficiently increase the profitability of my office? What can I do if I want to increase my revenue in a rate that, like, perhaps, and I'll show you a little bit later, how the DSO does it. I went to a few seminar. I think there's a lot of people that go to a lot of seminar. One of the person that I admire a lot is Dr. Eddie. He goes to seminar all the time. And I kind of learn from him a little bit. I go to quite a few seminars. And when you seminar, you see how these people, compete, how they get additional revenue cycle and get additional reimbursement. And later on, I'm going to show you in a video how a lot of these people do in my seminar that I have encountered, and some of these people will come and talk to us. A lot of these people, all of them will come talk to us because I have met them personally, I have talked to them personally, and I've, negotiated with them personally how they can help us. Ultimately, the goal is put the emphasis on us, how they can help us to improve our game, to the top 1%. That's something that I think is worthwhile to listen to. How can we 10x our practice, and how can they perhaps 200x our practice? And although it sounds like a really high, I would say a high goal, but a lot of times there is an opportunity that we have to see, and then when we see those opportunities, we have to try to either have two choices. Either you implement, execute, or you just wait. So a lot of times, I see that I've been waiting a lot of times, and I see that, the competition is getting too strong. So we have to kind of learn how our competition increases and how we can do. The good news is, there's a lot of things that we can still have opportunity. And I can, probably show you, or in the video, you can see later on, how the opportunity comes up to our advantage. The reason is not really that we're better. It's just that some of the other DSO, they do not know how to expand. Because of their mistake, they do not expand rapidly. Because if all of them expand the same way and on a more intelligent level, then it's very, very difficult for us to compete. Okay, the second thing that I want to focus on is referral. On the referral market, the dental referral is usually not a lot. We don't have a lot of referral. And then when you go to, how to get referral from physician, how do you get referral from different healthcare, doctors and things like that. Those are another things that we could, expand into. How do we network together? How do we form a group? How do we form alliances? How do we, use that to increase our referral bottom line? And how do we get the smartest employee to work for us? Because you think about it, a lot of DSO like Heartland and Aspen, the employee have a lot of perks. The doctors have a lot of perks. They have free CE courses. They have, all their malpractice is paid for. And then, they have continued education. Sometimes they have courses they can take, which is a lot cheaper than they have to do it themselves. And they have more, they have a month of vacation a year. And then, they just have a lot more perks than what we can offer individually. So, and they have less stress. The reason why they have less stress is because they don't really have to do all the day-to-day administration, because they have a team of people. They have legal, they have HR, they have accounting, they have a lot of perks. When they buy something, for example, later on you'll see that, there was a guru that talks about, he sell a lot of DSO, he put a lot of companies together, he'll be working with us, but, there's a few other players that work with us. But the fact of the matter is, they can help us to make it more efficiently, how to run the practice. So, and they can connect us to the right player. The connection is really the key. So when you connect the right people, you make the stress much less because you know who you're talking to. I'm going to give example, like, I take a lot of Tony Robbins class. And then from that, I also met Arun Gard, which is also, go to Tony Robbins classes. And he's in a specific group, called, it's a special group. I forgot if they taught platinum or titanium group, and that group, all of them has to be, above $200 million. And those people, they like, refer special, opportunity to each other. So they work in a special niche so they can position themselves to be the best in the business. And that's something that I think is interesting to learn how we can, improve, those areas to our advantages. And Arun Guard is also in my same school. We go to the same school, and so is a few other people, that I know of that have a lot of practices, and then I have a lot of practice management and courses like Dr. Mangalo, with the LIT seminar, and then they have a lot of classes, and they're all from the same school. So I'm very fortunate enough to see, to meet all these people and know them since they're in the same school. We have the same alumni. So we talk about, okay, how do you do that? How do you increase, your revenue to that situation? How do you, have your own implant system? How do you buy a chateau, free 30,000 square feet, and invite all your friends over there? How do you do your marketing? So you kind of, in a way, can network with the best people. And I think that Arunga might be also coming to our convention in, San Antonio. So I think if I have to say, in a small summary, I think the most important thing is whenever you go into a business, the first thing you really should think about is your exit strategy. Your exit strategy dictates what you should do and what you have to do to make the best out of the situation. And how do you use that same strategy to have multiple stream of income with that? And then you can be able to move forward into a different category where, all these strategy and income will basically come back to you as royalties, either in real estate, insurances, or, they have a way that they can get loan for like 0%, and they just have a lot of perks. And I'm just gonna use Arun Guard because Tony Robbins have like, he do like $8 billion a year. Arun Guard have 45 different businesses. A lot of them is, dental. So we can kind of learn from people that is ahead of us, what they do and how they do it, and how we can copy their success. And I went to a few of his seminar, and I went to many, many other seminar. I went to the team training institute, and then also went to the Tower Hill leadership. And I learned from some of these people how they expand their businesses vertically and laterally. Vertically means expand the business as far as how do you increase the revenue from, adding more services to your business? How do you increase the volume of patients? And, laterally means how do you build from one office to 10 office in a short period of time? And those are some of the things that they teach. But most of these companies, what happened is dental, they charge you an arm and leg, in order to give you consulting. And I think some of us have gone through some other classes like NGE or different classes. And I've been to some of the classes, but the classes is not really that cheap. So our goal is to try to make it very affordable, very inexpensive, and hopefully free to all the people that join our team. Okay, so this way we can work together to make that a possibility, and hopefully we can go to the end goal and try to re-engineer. Let's say if we can go back 3 to 5 years from now, and we can raise to a huge 20 times EBITDA. I mean, excuse me, not 20 times EBITDA, 20 times 20x of what we do, and come back and figure out how we can re-engineer that to what we can do today. So that's something that I think is very important. I think, I don't know if I can share the screen. Let me see. And then I have to ask Dr. John, see if we can.
You can see the green button, share screen. You can
Yes,
click.
I did already. I'm trying to see if because I create a small video for some reason,
Okay.
the video didn't show up. So let me see. I didn't see that. Let me see, how am I gonna do that? Okay, so if I cannot show that video, I'm gonna show a shorter video. I'm gonna try to see if I can show a shorter. Oh, maybe they cannot even show a video on the thing because I made a video.
Harold, you can
Yes.
send to me. I can share it for you. You can
Okay,
use
so
WeChat or email to me.
okay, I can forward that to you.
Okay, you
And
can go ahead and maybe when you finish, I can call you back after Dr. Han share
okay,
and you go back. I show you. Yeah.
okay.
Mm.
So because I think I'm using my iPad to do the presentation. I create a video, but then for some reason, the video cannot go through. So I'm going to try to, oh, you know what? Maybe I should use, let me try the video on the iPad. I
Oh,
think,
but the video iPad are different. Okay, you have to in your iPad upper right corner, you slip down, you will see share screen. Is that right?
the share screen, I could not do it, but I knew there was always single.
Okay.
I mean,
Why
always
you upside you swipe down? There is a two square. You click that two square.
two
The
square.
top of two square there.
You know what? Maybe what I should do is while I'll have Dr. Han discuss what
Okay.
she can do, and then I'm gonna try to put that on the Google Drive. And if I put it on Google Drive, then I can share it. That might be a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And
Okay.
also you can send to me. I can share for you. Okay.
Okay. So I'm gonna try to send for you, and I'm gonna do it on the Google Drive at the same time, and then
Mhm.
this it will not take other people's time. I'm just gonna, go ahead and do that and let Dr. Hans start. Okay.
You okay? Yeah. Thank you.
I'm gonna
Thank you,
forward time.
Dr. Xu. Yeah, very informative. Yeah, very good. Thank you so much. For the past many years, uh, I saw Dr. Xu is very active for not only for our NDPO and for any, dental related activity. And this time in the San Antonio, Dr. Hui already recommended some the doctor to us. Very good doctor. Okay. Yeah. Let's next we let Dr. Edison Han to share his portion. And I already introduced Dr. Han. Dr. Han is a very special doctor. He's not a very good clinic dentist, and also for the business sense and also for the technical sense is very good. And today, and Dr. Han will share with us about how, for our dentist EBITDA, usually just 15% to 25 or 30%. But we here, Dr. Han will show us how to you get the 20% of the EBITDA. Okay? Yeah, we commit the time to the Dr. Han. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Zhang. Hi, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. So I think I'll proceed, and then Dr. Hui can take over towards the end. So let me share my PowerPoint here. Please let me know if you have any questions. Can you see?
Not yet. You are using the computer or iPad?
I have a MacBook, but
MacBook, okay. A MacBook, you're supposed to clean the green share screen.
right, I clicked it, but I'm not sure if you guys can.
Okay, you are the co-host. You're supposed you can share.
Okay, can you see it?
So far no.
No? Okay, let me check it again. Sorry about that. So let's see again. Windows. Share this window. You can't see it, right? You cannot see, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It says I'm sharing, but
you may
hello, you have to let Dr. Hui stop sharing first.
Let me see. I already stopped sharing, I think. I already stopped sharing. I think I stopped sharing already. Let me see.
From my end, I cannot see any sharing. How about
Yeah,
you?
I don't think I'm sharing anything at this point.
okay, let's try
Okay,
again.
here.
Okay,
Okay.
we can see it.
Okay, I think it only allows a few options for me to share, I guess. So I picked another option and I think it works now. So today I'm presenting DSO, and the part that I'm presenting is investment grade practices. So I'm gonna speak English just because I think everyone will understand it better, perhaps. So, what's 26% EBITDA translate to 1.5 million production, more so like collections a year. That's what we're looking at, and the question is why it translates to 1.5%. It's because inflation's mainly, and that's why nowadays, if you want 25% EBITDA, you should looking at 1.5 collection or production. So most of DSOs integrate, meaning they centralize. What does it mean centralize? There are three things. From a legal standpoint, from an accounting standpoint, and from HR policy standpoint. So a legal standpoint is that you become a C corp and you can have multiple businesses into one, or you have one businesses and multiple practices within that business, right? So you spend a lot of money for a lawyer to integrate you. The second thing is accounting. So if let's say you have 10 practices, just for easy to understand, then 5 have debts, like they have a loan still, the other 5 don't, then you have to find out how to service that debt, and you have to do the due diligence to give a valuation for each practice, and that might take a month for an accountant to do it. I think Dr. John in the past said it takes an accountant one full month to do 2 practices to understand the financial transparency, so the crunch number and everything. Some of the brokers, investment bankers will tell you that it takes them 90 days to improve your books to make it look sellable. But that's not called integration. Integration is really to integrate as one entity, legally, accounting wise, and policy, mainly human resource policy. And centralization, it's how to centralize payroll, right? There's so many policies in different states. What are the laws behind it? What's your business policy, like rules and regulations that govern one entity? All that it has to be centralized. So you behave like one business. Why is it so valuable, integration and centralization? Is because if I'm an investor, I don't want to go outside and buy 10 practices and do all this work. So it's very valuable to buy 10 practices versus one practice. And that's when the value of your EBITDA goes up. Like if you sell one practice, it's 3 times the 26% of the EBITDA. But if you sell 10 practices, it can go up to 8 times of the EBITDA. And if you have 25 practices, generate $50 million together, it can go up to 13 times the EBITDA. Some of them can go up to like 18 times the EBITDA. Just because from an investor standpoint, as you de-risk, risk is the highest thing that investors don't want. And you got to remember, these are not dentists. They're not in healthcare. So risk is very costly to them. So if you integrate and centralize, you de-risk. And that's why you're worth more than one. Did someone have a question? Did someone have I'm sorry, did someone have a question? No? Oh, okay, then I'll continue. So this is something I took from some of these consulting companies. And by the way, like Dr. Hui said, they charge a lot, usually $2,000 to $5,000 per practice per month. And they take 3 to 6% of the whole 10 practices worth. So let's say you 10 practice, let's say it's worth 15 million, then they will take 3 to 6% of that $15 million when you go into sales, right? So when you form that DSO, so they call it payday. So these are the things that you're looking into. Legal, accounting, and human resources is when you integrate legally together. Obviously, you know, as a DSO, the centralization involve procurement, operation, like you can read it yourself, all that, right? But so this is a mom and pop level, so 0 to 3, and this is like in between, and then this is investment grade. They have different criteria to get there. It's a lot of work, but when they charge $2,000 to $5,000 a month with 3 to 6% of equity of the entire company, they only do this part. So what we notice in the market is that all these, which is like the majority of it, they don't do it. So we came up with this DSO idea. What if we band together and we systemize the revenue, like systemize the business so that you can go from a $1 million practice to 1.5, if not more. So when you band together, you don't have to integrate yet because it's very uncomfortable to integrate with someone that, even though they're your friends, but you don't know financially what's their behavior, right? Like how do they manage the business? How do they, how much debt do they have? There's a lot of financial and business issues that might not be spoken, even though you're friends. And systemization is it's very, very difficult for most consulting companies to do it, just because a lot of them don't understand operations, and also they don't have system and processes that can be replicable, like McDonald's, for example, and using technology to replicate, we call it scale it. So there's no one out there that's able to provide the systemization that every practices should have before they have they join DSO. So why is it so challenging after COVID? It's because, did someone have a question? No? Okay. I guess I'll continue. If you have questions, please let me know. Because I'm in a presentation mode, so I don't see anyone except the screen here. So 5% inflation equals to 23% price increase. You can Google it. You can Google on the web. Basically, in 2019, a dollar is equals to $1.23 in 2024. So your dollar has decreased by 23 cents. So imagine your production, you produce 1 million. Actually, the 1 million you have today is not the same than 2019. You actually bring home, your profits actually lesser by 23%. So this is JAMA. I guess you guys know JAMA, right? It's a very reputable journal. So $1 trillion go to waste in healthcare. We spent about 4 trillion, but I think in 2022, the 4 trillion became 4.5 trillion now because of the, again, inflation. So 30% of the 1 trillion that people spend in healthcare goes to waste, and it's divided 15% in insurances, like your billing, the errors, the coding, all that. And then the other 15% go to HR, human resources, burned out, your staff, all that. And then this is from Boston Consulting Group, BCG. So they say revenue leak for any industry out there, meaning that you didn't close the sale, your customer left, you didn't like you, whatever reason, right? Like it's your opportunity. Translate to about $2 trillion a year, and 15% come from delays in your schedule, bottleneck. You don't onboard your staff properly, there's miscommunication. So if you add this number, 30% plus 15% of your revenue, let's say 1 million, just make it easy, then you can increase your revenue to 1.45. Theoretically speaking, if you have a system that can take care of all that. And you need that because your take-home profit is decreasing by 23% the last 5 years. So definitely you want to increase at least $500,000 if you could. So here we talk about 50% revenue gain is critical in today's world because I round up to 25% price increase, and who knows, right? After 2024, what we're looking at. So in today's world, if you're a mom and pop, you have no technology, it's very, very difficult. It's very risky. You're putting yourself, I'm sure, as a dentist, we're very good dentists, but from a business standpoint, and if we keep on competing in terms of pricing, I think Dr. Zhang was talking about in Chinatown, someone can do root canal for like $199. It's definitely not the best approach because there's so much you can cut in price, and with the price increase, it's not the best business move. So it's a mindset shift. We have to shift a mindset to not looking at the price anymore, but to grow a business in a different aspect. Yes, it's important that we are good dentists, and I recognize that. I think that's why I invest right after my graduation into the Koi Center and to different classes to become a good dentist. But learning the best skill does not translate to the best business at the end of the day. Business is a team sport. So you can do the best implant, but if your front office mess up the collection, you don't have a business. So that's where the mindset has to shift. And oftentimes it's very hard to accept it because we are our habits, right? The way we think, the way we do things. Oftentimes it's hard to imagine something else. But I can assure you that if your thought change, your business will change as well. Your team will change, and your patient will accept treatments. It's something that I have experienced as a dentist and as a business owner. So it's very powerful. It's very interesting. I think growing is actually a very fun experience, I think. So we're looking at current technology. We call it revenue operation. So Excel sheets, business intelligence, customer relation management, all these technology have been created about 30 years ago. And they have some sort of automation, but it's not automating the whole processes. Like they automate some tasks, but they don't take into the whole processes, meaning like Amazon one-day delivery. They don't deliver that one-day delivery. They might help you to email the patients, remind them of the appointment, but they are not ensuring the patient will show up on time or they show up at all. So you need that precision and that consistency. And I think Amazon's one-day delivery use AI, machine learning, AI, replacing some of the people as much as they can, and systemizing the whole processes. So here, what we offer as a DSO are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that when we band together using data, I think it's important nowadays to use data to really work on these 5 systems, which most consulting firms out there do not offer, to really increase your profit, I think at least by 45% or 50%. So I'll talk about how we're going to do it, but let's review the criteria here. Revenue cycle management, I think you guys know that I have a software called LiveSeed AI. I'm not presenting LiveSeed here. That's why there's no patent pending or LiveSeed logo anywhere here. Today, I'm presenting basically about DSO. And the idea behind DSO, it's not to, like a lot of consulting firm, to make money out of the dentist, but really to see how together, since we're all dentists, I only have one practice. The question is like, how can we still deliver the quality care, but help each other to be better? I think that's the important message here, because at the end of the day, if we don't start to help each other out and lead in that direction, it's going to be, I mean, the future, the outcome will be very difficult for each of us individually. And I've never done DSO. I mean, I've seen DSOs. I learned about DSOs. It's just like Dr. Hui. I went to conferences, but obviously, you know, I've been practicing for 23 years, managing my own practice for 19 years. There are a lot of questions, and I do like operation and management and technology. So it's just something I'm very curious about after I learned my clinical side. So I think it's important to grow a mindset and help each other and improve better. So like I say, revenue cycle management is something that I felt it's important to AI it, because just like McDonald's, there's a consistency in taste and time. So revenue and time is very important. If you can't collect the implant down to the penny, right, patient will think that you are not competent, even though I know most of us are very competent. But again, it's a team sport. You cannot reach the goal without your team. So revenue cycle management, we're looking at 15 days to send a claim out, get paid, and then post it and make sure that everything's collected right. If not, then send a patient statement. And hopefully that's only 2% of patient statement that you need to send out. Clinical oversight is something, no technology, you might make $4,000 a day. And we're not talking about dentist owner, we're talking about an associate here. Obviously, as an owner, we'll work harder. I mean, I'm not saying that is the truth, but usually work harder. With technologies, we're thinking that you might do 5,000, and definitely we would like to produce 6,000 a day. With things like schedule optimization, how many staff you staff that day. Sometimes if you have two assistants at one sit, you cannot produce the same, just because we're all human dependent. Things like that, like forecasting, things like that. Education and training, like, do you have a high turnover rate? How's the culture in your business? So obviously this is more than 30% turnover rate. This is 20%. This is less than 10%. And I think the key point about education and training start with hiring. I think a lot of business know that hiring is critical. You know, Apple, how Steve Jobs was hiring a CEO, and then it didn't work out. He got fired at the end of the day. And then after that, he came. I mean, you know, you guys know the story behind things. Hiring should be, I mean, as a dentist owner, we are our own CEO of our own practice. It is a business at the end of the day. Who you hire is probably the most critical part to the success of your business. And I think here they talk about in general, what's the HR information management, all this policy, how to store, how to manage this information here. It could be different from state to state, obviously. And then operation, that 26% EBITDA here, that if you have a full chief operation officer, like a COO, then you could potentially reach that 26%. So as a group, you know, the question is that if we don't have a full-time COO in our practice, how can we achieve that? How can we have that? And I think they are solutions as a team, I mean, as a group. So here we go. So when we look at what's the highest cost, right? Dental offices have fixed costs and variable costs. Fixed cost is like your rent, like, you know, things that's fixed, doesn't matter. It's just gonna stay like that, right? But variable cost is like doctors' wages, staff wage, supplies, labs, rent, and marketing. That will vary. These costs will vary. And variable costs are always the highest compared to fixed costs. So you probably notice the doctor and staff comes about 50%. Obviously, you know, we should not be at 25% for each of those, but if you are, it's okay. But obviously, you know, if you make $1 million, 50% goes to the doctor and the staff, then it's hard to have a high EBITDA. So a lot of solutions out there focus on supply procurement. As a DSO, a lot of DSOs say, hey, come join us, and you're gonna have maybe 3% supply. The lab, you might decrease to probably 6%. The rent, I mean, it's sorry guys, I shouldn't put rent there. That should not be variable cost, should be fixed cost. So the marketing also, right, you can decrease it as a group. Like Sunrise, for example, because they have so many offices, they backlinks or the company they hire are much more efficient to market. So we have this news in the Globe and Mail in Canada about Dencorp. It's one of the largest DSO in Canada. Obviously, they went to IPO and then they filed for bankruptcy the following year. And this is like something in 2022, November 21st, 2022. So DSO traditionally, before 2019, as you purchase a practice, that $1 million revenue become your revenue. So as investors, if you purchase, let's say you have 10 practices and you purchase 3 more, then I see a 30% increase of revenue in this DSO. So most investors want 15 to 30%, usually 15%. So if I purchase 1 or 2 practices, I'm kind of golden, right? I mean, for a $10 million DSO. But nowadays we know that with inflation, which is like 25% increase of price, that's not a viable solution. So they're looking at 1.5 million up to purchase, just because adding someone's revenue, it's no, because you're adding a lot of costs. Because unfortunately, dental practices have fixed and variable costs, and variable costs due to inflation has the highest at the staff rate. So if you don't have a good system for HR and for education and training, the culture of the practice, then that variable cost for the wages can substantially increase. So the solutions that we're looking at here, you probably read revenue operation. Like, what is revenue operations, right? So the way we look at revenue is that it's an operation. It's not like you wake up one day, I want to go from 1 million to 1.5 million. It's not going to happen overnight. So you look at 12 months and you'll say, okay, each month, how much are going to increase? What translates to each week and each day? It should be a plan, and you should create a system to produce that rhythm. So revenue operation is patient-centric. We call it customer success. So it's when the customer come to you and you do an implant, and the customer is a customer happy when they leave. So that's considered success. If your team deliver the success that you're supposed to deliver. And I think there's 2 main things: is revenue and operation, seat time, right? The time and money. So at the end of the day, always go down to time and money. So did you collect it right, the money? And did you seek them? Are you respectful of their time? And so I think it's important, money and time. So revenue operation is basically customer centric, just like Amazon. They'll do anything to make the customer happy. And ultimately they came up with Prime, like the membership thing, and also the same day delivery, which are the 2 most innovative part that improved that company. So customer success, customer centric, customer focused, whatever words you want to use, That's the most important part. And you need a team behind it to deliver that. Because at the end of the day, like I say, the weakest team member defined the strength of your business. So if you hire someone at $18 an hour and she has no clue about insurance, about money, about scheduling, then your business is at the mercy of that person. Your business is as strong as the weakest person in your team. And revenue operations, what's unique is that it uses data. So 30 years old technology that powers this data, Excel sheets, business intelligence, CRM, to confirm the patients, to have this Excel sheet to look at your annual productions and how it's increasing. So a lot of data, but it's a lot static. It's not automated. So 3 things for running an operation: customer success, your team, and data to align the team to the customer success. But what a lot of people is looking right now is AI, right? So how can, I mean, AI is here, and unfortunately it's not going to go away. It just how we're going to use it. And I think it's important to use it properly. So people are scared of AI, and I'm like, well, look at the dishwasher, right? When the dishwasher came in, I'm not sure if you read about the story, but it's actually a woman, and she is tired doing dishwashing, and she created. And for the longest time, people didn't want to adopt it because they didn't have the right water pressure. So the first one that was sold was actually to like a restaurant that's in a hotel, not in a household. And then eventually, you know, the mainstream people, household, the houses will buy a dishwasher. But it's the analogy of having a dishwasher doesn't replace your server or your chef, right? But it just those mundane, like insurance verifications, enter the insurance and make sure you enter it right. And you might be like 50, 100 patients a day. It's very taxing on the staff. And it's humanly impossible to do 100% or 98% accuracy. If we, I mean, the most we can hope, like experience that's probably 80, 85%. A new hire might be at 50%. And again, your business is like dependent on that 50% output of that staff, then you don't have a business. You don't own a business. The business owns you. So revenue transformation is to allow machine learning to give you what we call actionable insight, not just like sending like CRM, like sending those email automation for you, but really give this kind of insight for your front office to make executive decision to improve your business. And a lot of that is human to human. So if the insurance verification is 25, 50 a day, I mean, I don't know, but like to me, my practice has to be at that level of accuracy to deliver the level of care that I'm, you know, I aspire to. So it's very taxing on my staff, and I recognize without them, we can't do much. So obviously, it doesn't give them time to really cater to the patients, and human empathy and compassion is the key element to really grow the kind of business, especially in healthcare, that you need. So machine learning provides some insight that will enhance that compassion, that human interaction. The second thing AI does is tasks that humans do, like doing the treatment plan, enter the insurance, or, you know, like crunch number, like lots of number for 10 years and tell you, like, you know, we as a cois dentist, we try our best to do comprehensive treatment, not just a disease of the teeth and the gum, but also function and aesthetic. So it kind of tell us which patients from revenue building standpoint, the AI will tell us which patient is the one that we should push forward and explain a comprehensive treatment that the patient have the background to really accept such a treatment, right? So revenue transformation is something that is fairly new. And those are the example I have provided, but that's one of the solution we have for this DSO. So internal marketing, I'm sorry, I know that I talk too much right now. Do you guys have questions?
Dr. Han, you can go ahead. And one who have the question, you can either put on the chat box or you can raise your hand. And here
Okay.
we have the Dr. Lucy have the question right now.
Okay. Dr. Lucy.
Okay.
I believe it's Dr. Lu, but I think
Okay.
he,
Other way, you can go ahead, Dr.
he can go.
Fernandez.
Then we can answer his question in the end.
Okay.
Okay.
Put it down. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to both of you. I'll wrap it up. I know it's a lot. It's a lot of information here. So, Disney, Slack, all those big companies understand internal marketing. So internal marketing is called sales conversion. It's not marketing conversion. It's not your search engine optimization, the SEO. It's not when you grab a patient online, they come to you. That's called marketing conversion. Sales conversions, like when you create a treatment plan as an implant, for example, the patient had to accept it, right? They accept the treatment plan, the implant, and then they come in. And did you collect it right? Would it sit on time? Did you give the right post-op information? Did you place that implant correctly in the right area, the right angle? There's so many things that qualify patient success. As a dentist, that's different than a patient experience. So what we're focusing here is patient success. It's not the dentist criteria. And then you see increase of retention, referrals, and reviews. So this is from Gartner. A lot of these research firms will say, hey, 20% of the patient that you have will generate 80% of the revenue for this practice. And the lifetime value of patients, $60K for 10 years. So for example, for 10 years, they spend $600 a year, right? So it can be 2 cleaning for $600, and then times 10, then that's, but anyways, and then they refer 2 patients to you we know they do more than $600 a year. So we calculate, okay, fine, let's say 6,000, but it's more than 6,000. Let's give it 20K if they do fillings and crowns. And then they refer 2 patients that's also 20K to you that come from the same, Microsoft, that come from Microsoft, right? So, in 10 years, that 1 patient can be worth 60K if they bring in 2 new patients that stay 10 years. That's hypothetical, but it could happen in real life. And then this 5% bump in customer retention also translate to an increase. So if you retain, let's say you have 600 patients this year, and 5% increase of that 600 can increase your revenue. I know it's hard to understand that, but again, this is Combanion Company. Those are research firms. That's to explain why company like Disney focus so much on cell conversion. When you come to the Disney experience, they actually have this green, yellow, red color table as well. So it's gauged whether or not this client will have a good experience at Disneyland. So that's why when they pick up the trash, they don't do it. They do a certain way at Disney. So it's very important that customer experience. Again, it's very different than the doctor's experience. So customer experience is key in sales conversion. What we understand is that definitely, using AI, using machine learning is a key component to be more stable versus human dependent. And the first thing we did was money, like the revenue cycle management. The second thing that we are thinking is to have a data room where all the doctors can put the productions, collections, cancellation rate, case acceptance rate, what do they accept the most, anonymously, so we don't know which practice are, but it's in the room. And then by sharing, by having a data that guides the team, all the practices, and your team, you have to do the work yourself. Once you go back to your practice, you have 22% increase of revenue. That's for sure. And that's not coming from my brain. It's coming from some research company, but I didn't code it here. So having a KPI and track it on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, is important to increase that revenue. Like I said, I practiced for 19 years, and having this turnkey processes, when we say revenue processing system, it translates to customer success, team, and data, using data to drive the systems and processes. And we can talk about it, right? Talk about our experience, what I've been doing, what you've been doing, why the data is different. So it's called sharing here. And then also we do have machine learning driven actionable insights. So taking into the data of everyone, it can uncover, I don't know, Dr. Hui is doing tons of implant and I'm just doing tons of composite. Why is that? Is it the marketing? Is it the staff? Is it my belief? Is it the pricing in the area? So it kind of gives you a lot of insights. So when we have 3 dentists in my practice. So Amy doesn't do much crown. I do medium level. Michael, he just loved crowns. So when he came in, we have 50% increase of crowns and definitely increase of lab fee. And we look at the data, what does that translate? Even though we have increase of productions, do we have increase of profit or not? Those are questions like, do you go with this lab? Do you negotiate with the lab because you have increase of volume of crowns now? What's the best? Do you want to start to do printing now? Or do you want to, like, is your lab 10% has gone to 12% now? Or like, those are the data that you have to make decisions. And when he started to do full mouth cases, there's certain lab that we need to work with. And obviously he was on this experimental stage. And obviously our lab bill has gone up again when he was ready for this full mouth cases. Again, we had to have a conversation. What can we, like the temporary or the mock-up, like can we do digital printing and lower costs from that standpoint? Because any wax up's like $100 per tooth, right? So we're like, okay, that's a bit too much. And can we do it ourselves? So we bought ExoCAD, and right now we're looking at data whether or not it's bringing down our cost. But I think you have that kind of insight, that kind of data to, like, hey, maybe Dr. Hui's doing better from that perspective, or Dr. John's doing better from that perspective, and I have increase of lab fee. What's my best approach now? There's other applications, but that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Han, for the presentation. Here, I want to add something. As I mentioned before, I think Dr. Allison Han is a very special dentist. She not only very skillful dentist for the clinical technique. She is a College Center graduate. The College Center in Seattle is, I learned that it's very good. He training doctor do the complicated case. Yeah, and I think in the future we'll ask Dr. Han to teach us how to do the full mouth cosmetic reconstruction. I already talked to her about that. And another thing, I do the Dr. Han's software, the AI live feed software, very special. Some as a dentist, we get some the technique not from developed from the dentist. Other technique developed by some engineer. This AI live feed software is very special. It's developed by the dentist, like Dr. Han, very skillful dentist, and very successful practitioner. That's very good. Okay, we hope this time our doctor can join our San Antonio the workshop there, and Dr. Han will show us the detail, and also for the live sheet AI software give us an opportunity, to bond our doctor together to form our own DSO, kind of DSO. You can see just as Dr. talking about the software. This software involves every aspect of the practice, like revenue cycle management, the marketing, HR, and whatever. Yeah, when the doctor has shown me, I amazed about that technique. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Han. And I think Dr. Hui haven't finished the
already. I don't know if you received it. I also
received. Okay, let me share the screen.
So
okay.
I can see if I can put it on my. I kind of try.
It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Okay, do you want me play it right now?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
An investor who started this, sold it to another investor who built it and sold it again and again and again. This DSO is currently owned by the second largest private equity firm in the world. And had you put that $1 million in and hung on to it by the end of 2020, it would have been worth $200 million. Now, this is not theory, because I know a doctor who did that, except he got out in the last red line, and so his million became worth $151 million. He took his chips off the table, paid his taxes, and started his own invisible DSO, which now has over 100 practices, and this was about 4 years ago. So the returns that have been gained over decades in dental consolidation are why so much new capital is continuing to invest in. We'll talk about how consolidated is dental practice, our dental practices in the U.S. in a second. But part of the logic of why you would want an invisible DSO partner is they are going to have, because of their size, leverage that enables them to help your practice with certain things. Now, interestingly, you're an implant group, so I'll give you a quick implant story. I had a client who was placing 4,000 Straumann implants per year. And he was really proud of himself, and this is a couple of years ago. He was paying $280 per Straumann implant. And I said, the invisible DSOs are paying less than half that. And he was outraged. He said, no, my rep said I have the best deal in the country. I buy 4,000 implants a year. I said, yeah, but they're buying 20,000 implants a year or 30,000 implants a year. So I put 3 invisible DSO bidders in front of him that were paying $110 where he was paying $280. Okay, so these groups have the ability to negotiate differently than you do. So on average, your supplies costs will drop by 30%. When you partner with one of these groups, they're not going to tell you what to buy, but they may say if you're buying XYZ glue, you need to buy it through our contract over here at Shine or Patterson or Benco or whoever it is. They have been able to use their size to leverage and negotiate significantly lower costs than you have on typical dental supplies, 50% or more on implants. And the scariest part about this is the invisible DSOs and the DSOs are getting reimbursed from payers at higher rates than you are. And we did a deal recently in the Mid-Atlantic, all insurance practice, $4 million in collections. His new partner, who had 32 offices in the same state, and it was a small state, was getting reimbursed from his payers at 20% more than he was.
Okay.
I kind of the video actually continue. I kind of merge a few of them together, but but I think maybe we don't have to show all of them. The reason is I kind of taken that in the one of my convention, and then I think the guy will definitely work with us, but I didn't get the consent of everybody else to let me use the video. So that's something that I have to, be upfront about that. But ultimately, what he's saying, and it's like there's always a timing how to do something, and the timing is key. And then as far as how we can make the timing efficient for us is to see, how should I put it? I'm going to use an analogy to make it a little easier. Just like real estate market. There's a time the interest rate is really low and the real estate was booming and everybody was selling real estate like 10 or 20% more. And then when the times that the interest rate is higher, like right now, the house is not going as fast. So you have to focus on the timing. The timing is key. And right now, the DSO timing is right. A lot of the practice, like the guy's saying, is, $1 million equates to $200 million in a few years. And that's basically a very good opportunity. And then the opportunity is still here for us. And obviously not all of us is going to be ready to go into DSO, but I think the minimum that we should look into is how to profit more, how to, I would say, systemize our system. And then after you systemize, you can scale your system. And then if you follow, our, Dr. Han's software, and perhaps we can even automate, that system. Because automation is really key. Because a lot of time we're too busy in putting out fires that we don't have time to really work on the business. Most of the thing that I see a lot of dentists, including myself, is we work in the business like an employee. And we have to change that mindset. The mindset we really should have is really the number one thing that we should all focus on, is how to become a CEO mindset. A CEO mindset, you work on your business, you stay away from putting out fires, and you try to focus on how you can make the needle move. And that's really the team, and also, the philosophy of working smarter and working with a better approach, and how to use technology and, and culture to help you to systemize everything. I think Dr. Hans was very efficient in her speech. A lot of times, I like to, slow it down a little bit so that everybody understand, especially the part when she's talk about, Dr. Sang say a lot of people over the borders, they're doing like $300 per root canals. And, and I think I took the class from the other endodontist in the group that, over the class, he's doing a lot. He's doing a lot of root canals, and he's charging maybe $300 or $400 per root canals. But it's not the fees that we should be focused on. We should focus on the system. The system basically, would be like, another example would be like Amazon versus eBay. The reason why we go with Amazon is because we have reputation. You can always return it. You get it faster, you have Prime, you have efficiency, and you can deliver it to your door, a lot more efficiency. You can get the same day, and that's even they charge a lot more. I mean, I pay, $100 something for Prime member, and I pay $100 something for Prime grocery. That's already $200, $300 just to do that. So why would I pay more if I can just go to the store, Costco, and get it myself? But that saved me time. I have instant card too, and every single time I use it, it saved me time. So the most important thing to most doctors should really be time. I also belong to a group called, it's an Indian guy, his name is Ranesh, and he's also on the West Coast. And he's a really bright guy. Lately he's identifying a system called buying back your time, and listen to his class. Okay, so it's a system that I've done before, because I always think that I should learn from Robert Kiyosaki. The first day you start your business should be the day that you think about how you're going to replace yourself. So I don't usually work a lot, but my bottom line is between 10 to 15% when I just hire associate. I don't want to be in the business. I just want to have the associate doing my stuff. So how do I improve that 10 to 15% to be higher? And that's really the bottom line. The bottom line, how we can make that better. And then if you have 10 offices and you can get 15% from each offices, so your leverage will be much more. And if we engage with a systemized software that can give you forecast data, including coaching and culture, and teach your staff what's more important to do. See, the AI coaching is very important, teaching your staff what to do in a more objective way. So you cannot, I always been very nice to my staff. So I don't really, I learned from the guru say, oh, you should always be kind to your staff, but you should have expectation and planning how that culture is going to go. But a lot of time it's easier for an objective way to evaluate where they are, what they can do better. and then you can, give them their raise or commission accordingly. So with the software being able to give us, a connective things like the HR, the human resources, the EBITDA, the supply, the inventory, lab, all those things that give us a lot of hard time, which can be automated. And, that will help each of us to grow ourselves. And also, being able to using AI to the best advantages instead of, if you're not part of it or you're not aware of it, and then AI is not going to be not able to help you, but, it's not going to drive you to the standard of care. And I think, when I learned from Ranesh, he have a module called the, dental dominations, which is a very interesting module, how to dominate the market, and basically that's create an idea what you can do, how you set your team and culture so you can be the only one that they go to as far as dentistry is concerned, and how we can map that out. And what we're doing right now is just trying to see what we share in a way that can touch point of each individual practice to see how we can help each other to grow together, and then we can all profit from it. And then if we are DSO ready, then we can become, more successful. And DSO ready in the traditional sense means that each practice that you have should be around 2.5 million. Today is probably more around 3 million per practice. It's not that easy to create that, opportunity, but, the key is look into how to make that opportunity. And, we have different tiers, when you're first engaged in the first tier, second tier, and third tier. It's always good to be in the first round, because when you're in the first round, you not only become, a pioneer, consider a founder, and also you have a lot more, to participate and influence. So I think that's part of the reason why we hold, we're very, very fortunate that I met Dr. John and Dr. Eddie and Allison to be able to share some of our knowledge, how we can help ourselves as a culture to make that, to a much, much better opportunity and directions in the future. So with that said, I think, I don't know if anybody have any questions. I think Eddie was asking some question, how do we get the right staff? And I think getting the right staff, obviously, a lot of the good staff go to the DSO because they have all the perks, okay? So we had to figure out how do we offer the same, and better. A lot of times I was going to use example, like, it's not easy to find doctors nowadays because everybody want a guarantee, everybody want to learn something, a mentorship and something like that. I mean, I hear all my associates. I interview associates all the time. I have 15, 16 of them, and all of them, they want mentorship. Do you really have time to mentor all of them? Probably it's not that easy, okay? But on the other hand, if you have a system that can help them to mentor them, especially through the mindset, they will more likely to join you as a partner in the future and bring your numbers up. Part of the video that Dr. John was showing earlier, and then it's only like 1/4 of it, and then later on the guy was saying that in a year in a certain state there's I would say 150 oral surgeon coming out from residency every year, and then based on that 150 oral surgeon coming out from that state, almost 100 of them go to DSO. 100 of them go to DSO is because the DSO offer them, before you graduate, we're gonna give you $70,000 to pay for your school tuition. The second you start working, we're gonna give you $150,000 on the job, and every year we're gonna give you another $70,000. So if you think about that for a second, how do you compete with that? It's almost impossible. Of course, more than half of it has already gone to the DSO, and then the other, out of the 150, 100, more than 100 of them go to DSO, and then I think like 15 of them go to, I would say clinic, government clinic to do their work. So only about 15 of them left to go to the private, offices. So if you think about it, of all these people, only 15 of them, less than 10%, go to the private clinic. So if you really think that they're gonna buy you out and basically, offer you, I mean, it's just competing is already hard. It's very difficult to compete that small sample, that 10%, because all the good stuff is already taken by the DSO. So how are you going to compete? You can't compete. They have the revenue, they have 20% more revenue because they have somebody negotiated prices, they have better pricing, they have, cheaper discount. They have a lot more things that they can compete that we cannot. So I'm sure all of us already have some experience in that regard. And that's why, we're trying to figure out how to resolve that situation. And some of us, take the opportunity to try to see what we can do, to lead that path so we can help others, in the same area. And then, the least we can do is improve your numbers and improve your gross revenue, improve your profitability, and then you can decide what you want to do, because that's something that is freedom of choice and what you can decide which way you want to decide. But I think the time is very important for us to engage into it to set a new standard of care. So with that said, I'm going to give it back to you, Dr. John.
我想哈，刚才那个谢谢那个 Dr. 慧和那个 Dr. 韩跟我们分享他们的这个 knowledge。那刚才那个 Dr. 韩，我在想提一句哈，他这个 Life Sheet 的 software 呢，它不仅仅是给我们用，而且呢 ，Dr. 韩呢，他会帮我们training我们的 staff，training甚至我们的 technique， 什么样式的 procedure 我们要有选择，这样式的，好吧？那好，我们下面就 open 这个time 时间，大家有什么问题可以来问这两位医生，好不好？这里有一个问题哈，就是 So we cannot join DSO if we don't produce 3 millions。然后这个问题，我想是应该给许医生。
No, I think anybody can join a DSO. Our goal is to improve all and every one of us. So our goal is, let's say if you're at 500,000, I'm going to put a lower number. Let's say if you have 500,000, our goal is to help you from 500,000 to go to 3 million. That is our goal, because that is very crucial to every business owner. How can they, go from 500,000 to $3 million without too much headache? But obviously, like anything else, you're going to have to work a little bit more and focus a little bit more in the beginning. But everything else is the same. Just like when we first learned how to do digital X-ray, how to read CBCT, how to use cone beam. I mean, it's all the same. It's just a matter of standard of care. So I don't think there's an issue as far as where you are, but the more bigger issue is where you're going and who is your partner. Because there's always going to be a partner that is willing to take you. But for example, right, a lot of times I see that John, talk about this group called Becoming a DSO by Brady Frank. And he's a bright guy. I went to his lecture, I talked to him, and he has a system that, he actually focused now on full arch. He built full arch clinic and all these big players that focus on building full arch clinic. And he used real estate as a means to capitalize the full arch clinic. Basically, he buy the real estate at a really cheap price. He buy the real estate, for example, like for, $300,000 in an area that people would drive not more than 20 minutes to that area. They calculate, from major area, people would drive 20 minutes to a dentist, where they should be. And he kind of mapped that out in a certain, specific ways. And then he's going to buy this building, build a full arch clinic, and then you know, set all the equipment, probably spend about $500,000 setting equipment, and then bring all the patient and build it out, and then basically sell it to a third party, you know, or to a DSO. And the DSO will come in, buy the clinic, and right away that building, instead of $300,000, now is worth $3 million because he raised the rent. Okay, he raised the rent, he pushes the real estate. You know, instead of, you know, he bought it at $300,000, he owned the building, and now he raised the rent to maybe, you know, $15,000 or $20,000 a month, and now the building now is worth $3 million. And then he sell the building, he capitalized, you know, $2.5 million, and he do a 1031 exchange. I mean, that's, in a short way, that's how he does it. He's not going to tell you everything about that. I just, you know, talk to him, you know, and he basically tell me how he does and what he does. And obviously there's a lot of different ways to it. But that company, they will charge you $5,000 a month just to calculate your EBITDA. Okay, and I talked to a few other companies in the space, and you know, the cheapest one would probably charge you around $2,000 every month, just to get your numbers and together to make it work. So, I mean, some of these things is a little bit, you know, complicated, but you know, I'm just trying to see if I can make it a little bit more easy to understand.
Next question is, what do you do to increase case accepting route? Patient needed to have this work done, but they have no money to pay for.
I would like to answer that question if I could.
Please.
Okay, so Eddie, it's a good example of the PowerPoint presentation that I just did. So the components to not doing 199 root canals is to increase case acceptance, right? So to increase case acceptance, there are 3 elements. That's why revenue operation is so powerful, and that's one of the solutions for this DSO. So what it means that customer, team, and data. So you want to improve. And if you don't measure improvement, then you don't know whether or not you're improving. You're not, you know, you have no clue, right? So data is important. Technology and AI is to facilitate that data collection. So you don't have to go
You have to have a paper, a pen, a notebook.
Okay. So data is to, technology is facilitate the data so that you don't have to go to your PMS, practice management software, and look up how many case acceptance or how many patients you saw, what's the rate, right? You don't have to do this labor-intensive calculation. But to increase the case acceptance to a 5,000, 10,000, 20, and that's why I'm working with my associate, Michael, right now. And he's more than an associate, right? I mean, the culture of practice is to really think of the team as a family. So to go back to the PowerPoint, it's customer-centric. So you cannot sell a need. If your customer come in and they need a root canal, you cannot sell them a full mouth reconstruction case of 20K, 30K, 40K. That's not, that you miss the whole customer centric. Needs cannot be sold. The patient have to come in and understand the need. We have a 24-year-old female that came in about 2 weeks ago, and she lives in California, and she is in an internship at Microsoft, and she's gonna leave back to California end of September, and she was here in July. She was doing Invisalign, and we noticed that a 24-year-old have tons of erosion occlusally and buccally at the roots. And we point out to her, and she said, yeah, I have a lot of sensitivity. So this patient already have a need. I don't have to sell her a need. So the treatment by the dentist in California is to do Invisalign and then eventually crown them one by one, right? So we felt that she understood the need, but the treatment wasn't the right treatment for her. So what we propose is to do a salivary test to understand where the erosion come from, discern breakdown of the enzyme, the saliva. Not everyone's saliva is the same. There's a test that you can do, not just the acidity of your mouth, but there's enzymatic breakdown. So we propose the testing for her. And we propose to increase the vertical dimension for her, and really stop Invisalign. Because once you do a full arch, there's no real need for her to spend that $6,000 on Invisalign. So it was a drastic change, right? And obviously all this one arch full mouth case for a 24-year-old that's doing internship at Microsoft, it's very expensive. So at the end of the day, how to sell a case like that? To us, the need, she understood her need. She has sensitivity, and she has symptoms, right? So a lot of time what we do is that we filter the patient that have symptoms. And secondly, we do a lot of visualization, just like data visualization. We visualize the teeth. We have a huge, TV, and then we take IO photos with, camera, DLL camera. That's very good quality, not those iPhone camera. And we project it to the monitor, huge monitor, and really explain the erosions and what it means to keep that same vertical dimension. And she saw those erosion. There's no enamel. She was bulimic before, so she definitely has some psychological issues she's dealing with. And we explained to her why Invisalign in this case, because her teeth are fairly straight, would not be advantageous for her, but rather go to prosthetic, because we protect the teeth. A lot eroded enamel. I mean, we have a lot of dentin, and definitely her pH there's a lot of acid, and we don't know if she's still having this bulimia, active or inactive. So we need to protect her teeth at 24-year-old. So to us, it's like doing Invisalign, doing crowns the next 5 to 10 years would not serve this patient advantage. We need to go in right now and cap this teeth, because erosion is different than attrition, right? So exposed dentin, it's just a different, and then with the acidity, with her current mental situation, is not a good place to be in. And I think customer-centric is that you have to have that conviction that you can deliver the care, you have the best interests of your patients in your heart. Patient has to have a certain need. Like if she came in for a root canal, this is not a conversation I'm gonna have with her. And then the second thing is that besides customer-centric, you have to have a team. So AI and technology can improve some of these processes. We can scale it, but ultimately it's a team, right? So your team has to be efficient, systemized. They have to have the right insight. So it's important that your team are evolved with this kind of treatment with you. So that way, Dr. Michael On will talk about it. I'll come in and support that. And then we have a front office coming in and support that, or hygienists actually support that. From the 2 doctors to the front office, to the hygienist, to my assistant, we are trained and we understand erosion, we understand bulimia, we understand the acid in the saliva and all this enzyme that's destroying her dentin faster than any average patient, and why it's so critical for her to pick the right treatment, even though it's so drastic from what the dentist in California recommended. So that is to say that, if you don't have that system, that efficiency, that insight, it's hard to build trust, because you're asking these patients to give you a lot of money, and they're shifting from a traditional dentistry to a non-traditional dentistry. And it's asking a lot, especially she just came into my practice referred by another patient of mine, right? But your success is dependent on your conviction. If you're convinced that this is the right treatment for the patients, it will cost her $10,000 or $20,000, and we need to break it down into phases. You have to be able to, so we presented a PowerPoint to the patient. So she was skeptical, so she agreed to $3,000 worth of composite. So we pretty much cover all the dentin, all like top and bottom molars, right? She had crowns on 30 and 31 already at that vertical dimension. So we cover composite, and we took photos of the composite we did in July, and then how this composite is eroding away in this kind of pH, in this kind of enzymatic mouth condition. And you can see the composite actually not being very stable. So the treatment plan from California was to Invisalign, do the composite work, and swap them to crowns, right? The molar 8 crowns gradually the next 5 to 10 years. And we're like, no, this is not traditional dentistry. This is not what's going to meet your need. And we showcase how this composite is eroding within 30 days. And you had to have the data. And we did a PowerPoint presentation to her. And then at the end, Dr. Michael was like, there's no way she's a commit. She's leaving end of September. But to a surprise, it took some time, but the patient's committed to the crowns and then we do the wax up, we present a case, and she's gonna fly back from California every now and then. And she's only 24 years old. I do have an erosion case, that's my patient, no symptoms. We took the photos, he didn't wanna do any of the work. So I don't think you can sell a need. It's really understand precisely which patient needs it and really understand the need. That's why customer centric is so important. Your team has to have the right insight, have to be efficient. If they're busy doing dishwashing, they cannot serve the patient, and you're the chef, then the restaurant is not going to run well because they're 50% of the time they're trying to figure out how to do this dishwashing here, right? Verify insurance when they should be educated, they should be talking to the patient, they should present those photos, saying the same thing that you say to them. Like it could be an implant, like I don't know, all in four, right? And I think that translates to customer success, really that how to handle the patient, your team, right? Your team productivity and efficiency that control the whole entire business, and really data. Like Dr. Michael is starting to do these big cases. He's been in my practice for almost 3 years. Dr. Amy Chong, she doesn't want to do any of these cases. She's been in my practice for 7 years. And we are looking for a high retention rate for the whole team because the team is a family. It comes before a patient. You can always gain patient later on, but it's important to have that culture that you're a family and you're there for each other. So I don't think I answered fully your question, AD, but I know that we have the technology to gather the data and maybe the data can execute some human tasks using AI, but it's not a key element of this DSO. The DSO that Dr. Zhang and Dr. Hu is proposing, it's very unique in the sense that it's a system that we try to help you to implement in 5 areas. Operations, human resource information management, education, training and support, revenue cycle management, and clinical oversight. Because we are first and foremost dentists. And I think through that, your mindset will change. Like I say, your practice success is dependent on your conviction as a CEO of your company and trickles down to the rest of your team. And the second part, hiring is very key. You have to have people who is like your family, that you feel like your family. When you go to work, I remember Dr. Michael said, I don't feel safe when I come to work. So we have to build a team that he feels safe when he comes to work. And that should be, hiring is the main key. You have to hire the right staff because there's no money or no time, no education that will make that staff right for you. So this, things that we can help in terms of understand what kind of person you want to hire so that you feel safe when we go to work.
Next question, what is the name of your DSO you're recommending? 我们现在还没有 DSO， 我们 hope this time we go to the San Antonio this workshop. They are Dr. Hui and Dr. Han is our speaker, and also we for almost 2 years in our NDPO group, several doctors thinking about DSO, but the thing is, it's hard. It's hard. Because as Dr. Hui recommended, became DSO, they have to survey your office almost a year. Each month you have to pay 5,000 for them to evaluate. It's hard. But until now, since the last time I met Dr. Han in Las Vegas, when I learned a lot about this software, I think right now we have the opportunity. Yeah, we not only we have the software, and we have the Dr. Han, this kind of, dentist. He's dentist and also developed this software. So this software will help us. And also Dr. Han, Dr. we training us for this. So I invite, if you can, go to the San Antonio. We have the gathering. We just like 2 years ago, we gather together in our NDPO in the Houston. We're talking about this, and there we join together. Okay, this is what I can give you.
I have a question, Dr. Han. Well, my question, I mean, I can see you have conviction. It's not I don't. It's just it's great that your patient care about, like attrition, occlusal disease and all that. I'm talking about a patient who has train wreck, like multiple root tips, multiple abscess, who cannot afford. I mean, they're not the type of people who has internship at Microsoft, they're barely freaking high school graduated. I mean, it's a different of geographic location. I mean, they're not any more less of a human being, but when I ask that question, that is kind of like the geographic locale that I'm talking about where I am. So yeah, I mean, these people can't. I mean, they don't care about they have some occlusal premature contact with enamel on the occlusal surface are gone. They don't care about that. I mean, you can talk about it with full conviction until Kyle comes home. Yeah, but no.
Yeah, so it's a good point, Eddie. Obviously, each client is unique. I use the word client, I don't use the word patient, because at the end of the day, it's not just a dental need. We're not treating the tooth, right? We're treating the patient. So you have to evaluate the socioeconomic, the education level, the understanding, and the level of care they do desire. So customer-centric, it's really to have that empathy or that compassion to reach out to these patients. We do have patients that have that population as well, right? Obviously, they may refer to us. I have this male patient and he just cleaned the golf track. Like when people golf in a range, he just pick up the golf ball using the machine, right? And he's the husband of one of my patients who's a veterinary doctor, and she grew up with braces with like all this high dental level care, and he's a train wreck, like abscesses. And so you have to be customer centric. It's important to understand your patient, not just from a dental standpoint, but from a psychological, like a need. And it's not just a physical dental need, a psychological need, right? So what we did for him is that we did fillings and we did extractions, and whatever we can say, we just did root canal for the last about 2.5 years now. And we didn't see him for 9 months, and he came back, and we keep on building that relationship. And that kind of cases is like $3,000 had to spread out to 12 months, right? Not into 1 month. But what I'm saying also is that each patient is unique, and you have to be very patient-centric. But at the same time, as a business, you need to also position yourself with patients that's not just this category. It's just like investing in stocks, right? You cannot just do like the SP 500. You have to invest in growth stocks. So it's important to position yourself with populations that's not just, because in order for you to be investment grade, you have to have a mixture of population clientele. That's the reality. And that's what marketing, that's what your team and data comes in play. Because at the end of the day, you can't just have, and can you convince yourself that you can have a clientele that is 20% like that, 25% mid-range, right? Blue collar has a job, 25% white collar has a job, and then 25% retiree super rich. That's called SEO marketing, and you need to position your team and your office a certain way, because with 25 23% price increase, you can't afford. You just can't afford that model. And it's very difficult on your body. It's very difficult on your team. It's not, I think you pick your heart, right? Either you work really, really hard, or you work really hard in marketing, in positioning your practice. And it, again, it's your belief system, right? Like, someone asked a question, is my associate have experience? Dr. Amy has 19 years experience. I have 23. And Michael has 5.5. But when he joined the practice 2.5 years ago, he was a pediatric dentist. And let's face it, pediatric dentists, they do a lot of pedo teeth, like stainless steel crown, fillings, but nothing to the level that a full mouth, a prosthodont, like advanced implant placement dentist should be expected, right? And you can say, there's no way I can bring that new associate or new dentist or new partner to that level. But I mean, I think the reason why the three of us work well is because we're a good mixture. And I think you need that mixture of patient. And he stepped in, and he is very driven, and he wants to get there. With Dr. Amy Chuan, she doesn't matter if we, pay her 50,000 a year, she's not going to take that class. She's going to drive. There is a certain population, and you need to target that, and you need to be very specific, and each patient is different and unique. And that's why mentorship, that's why coaching is very important, because every case scenario is so different. But to answer your question is that I think it's important to diversify with your clientele and try to really understand how to fulfill the need.
I guess you don't understand my question. There is no white collar in our town. Certain part of where we are, I'm sure not just me asking this question, but certain doctors out there in this chat also have just working in a blue collar. There is no white collar in their town. So, I mean, some of the stuff, it's kind of, we're talking about, it's not about our conviction. It's about, we can't do this for free. We can't be scammed by them. We can't be, afford to be ripped off by them. So like your slide was saying, 20% gives you 80% revenue. We don't have that. It's not just, we all have, our practice only have the 80%. We gotta work from our 80%, yes, to obtain our revenue. So it's a totally different.
Let me see if I can answer that question a little bit on my spectrum a little bit, because I think Eddie is in the Michigan area. I think he's in a special area, so it's a little bit more challenging for him. But because Sunday night is already almost 2 hours, so I'm going to make it a little bit fast, because we guys can see that we still have quite a bit of questions. I'm going to make it my answer. Okay, I don't really have all the answer. Okay, that is the truth, because I'm still learning. Okay, I'm just very grateful that I'm working with Dr. John and Dr. Allison, so we can all figure out the solution. Okay, my experience is there's always a solution. It probably may not be the best, but you can always find the best solution out of some situation. I'm going to use an example. I have a few offices, and one of my offices is in the Black area. Okay, all the patient is Haitians. Okay, I have a lot of Haitian patients, and these people, they're all workers. Okay, but interestingly, I make more money in that practice than my other practices in West Palm Beach. I have a practice in West Palm Beach, right across from the Palm Beach Island. Donald Trump is in Mar-a-Lago. It's just like a couple of miles away from me. Okay, and that office produced even less than that black people's office. Okay, the reason why I do more in that, because population is a little bit different. We have more volume. We have a lot more volume in that office, and that demographic actually does believe the doctors. and then they don't negotiate with doctor, and we just do it by volume. So individual cases I cannot tell, but I just look at the numbers. I look at the KPI, what's the new people, what's the retention, how they can affect it. And obviously sometimes, most of the time, I mean, a lot of time I do it for free. Okay, I mean, if I like the patient, I just go ahead and do it for free. I mean, that's just the way I am. Okay, so some people might do it, some people might not, but everyone is different. We don't, you know, it's not one size fits all, and it's really up to you how you want to handle it. But I don't have all the solution, only God does. And then the reality is we can find a better solution, and hopefully that will help us. But, you know, our goal today's subject is really, you know, what can we do to compete more fairly with the economic outlook outside? You know, given the idea that the DSO is getting more and more, it's getting stronger and stronger, the reimbursement is getting more and more, and then they have a lot more advantage than we individually can do. So how can we, you know, have a more competitive edge? And obviously, you know, we pretty much already organized everything together already. We just wanted to wait for the right moment to announce, you know, the different level of participation and contribution that we can offer. But I think it's more of a in-person meeting that hopefully we can all have in San Antonio, so we can have a more of an in-person, you know, talk to each person face-to-face, shake our hands and figure out, okay, how we can help each other to grow. The bottom line is how we can help each other, how we can mentor and model the best and become the best. That's really our conversation, what we do today. So let's answer a few more questions.
Okay, let's quick have the following question. Okay, the next question is, Dr. Guo, are most of your associates new graduates from the dental school, or the new graduates, international trained graduate dentists, or more experienced dentists? I think this question for the Dr. Gray.
I prefer to have experienced dentists, because experienced dentists know a lot more how to treatment plan the case. Okay, I only hire new dentists. How should I put it? It's a little bit complicated, and I do not recommend that. But this, interestingly, most of the more experienced dentists, they like to do full mouth rehab. They like to do bigger case, like to do implants, crowns, and then I have the newer dentists, and always you have to give the new dentists a chance to learn, because we all start from somewhere. You know, we all graduate, you know, year one. So we have to give them an opportunity to learn and hire them and give them, okay, this is I usually tell them this is a externship. This is the externship where you're gonna learn about implants, we're gonna learn about treatment planning, you're gonna learn about Invisalign. There's each module, we have program to teach you how you can do this efficiently, you know, and be successfully. And one day you can join us, or you can have your own practice. And you have your own practice, how do you make it automatically feasible for you? I mean, I train my people actually pretty well. Actually, I train my staff pretty well. Okay, that's why, you know, I hate to say it, but I probably should make some changes. I trained one of my executive manager, and she go out and open free office herself. And she's starting a DSO herself. So I trained her too well. I mean, I really probably should not have done what I done, but the fact of the matter is, you know, people learn. The key is you're willing to learn, or you're not willing to learn. If you're willing to learn, you're willing to have the new mindset, then everything is simple, you know. And, you know, if you have the old mindset and say, you know, I cannot do this, I cannot do that, it's going to be complicated here, it's going to be complicated there, then, you know, maybe it's not time. You know, I used to heard the people say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I find that out is very true for myself, because most of the time I hit the wall is because I'm very resistant to new concept. And I learned that, you know, once I open myself to, like, okay, let's learn this, let's jump in 100%. You know, you cannot do things halfway. You have to jump in 100% and with all your capacity. If you believe in it, you jump in 100%, and then you make your own art. And that's just life. So everyone is different. I mean, I don't think, you know, one size can fit all. But what I think is, high frequency people and high, I would say high value people tend to grow together. And that's something that is very key to learn, because I learned that from people who is much smarter than I, and I just model what they do. I learned, implant from Dr. Sang. Before I met Dr. Sang, I never touched an implant. Okay, so he teach me a few things, and I just experiment myself. I'm very lucky. All my assistants are dentists. I have a lot of assistants. I probably have like 20, 30 assistants, and all my assistants, they're all dentists. Some of them are oral surgeons or from another country. So I'm very fortunate, I have good help. So even though there's times that I could not know how to figure it out, they figure it out for me. But the key is implementation. The sooner you implement, you don't have to have all the answers. There's no way you get all the answers, but the key is start somewhere. If you don't start, you'll never go anywhere. That's just my experience. Okay, so next question.
What's the next question? What's the most important advice or lesson did you learn in the first couple of years in your private practice? I think Dr. Han can answer this. Which year you went to the Koi Center?
Yeah, I went to a Koi Center, and it's definitely a lot of knowledge. But I think, it's not, I want to go back to Eddie, but I'll use your example and what Dr. Hui just said right now. Even though I learned right off my residency, that was a heavy medical surgery focus to a comprehensive aesthetic function focus training. The next 3 years after that was definitely eye-opening. I did work 2 years for a group dentist that have a lot of trust, like they take insurance, but from Carpenter, from a lot of trust companies, so they pay like probably 50% less than the actual PPOs. But what I'm trying to say is that, like Dr. Hui say, it's your mindset, right? Obviously, taking a COIS program is like, how do I convince my patient who's taking insurance to do all these cases, right? And Eddie, all I'm saying is that it is a mindset, and obviously I'm already at the other extreme, right? So bringing my other dentists to that extreme, because Michael's definitely interested in that. The first couple years was not, the student wasn't ready. And you'll be surprised when you are ready to tackle that question. And again, I'm not saying I have all the answers. Like Dr. Hui said, we're all experimenting here, and I can only share my experience with myself. But if we are DSO, and that's why the data platform comes in, it's concrete data. What you see, I did not know I have 50% increase of crown prep after Michael joined our practice until our data scientists showed it to us. You'll be surprised some of the assumption that you have about these patients, about population. When you run it through a machine learning or data, you'll see your practice and you start to, because as a dentist or a scientist, you'll start to shift progressively the way you practice, the practice generating revenue. I cannot convince you, but it's an experience that I experienced since I started practicing. Like I say, I'm already the other end of the, we right now we're trying to push those big cases and those expensive cases. And we don't do a whole lot, but we do have that target, that goal. And right now I'm not full-time in the practice, so it's really Michael, and he's interested. So bring him there, because before I'm closing all the cases for him, and now he's doing it, right? So I'm not saying that, like John Coy's practice in 5, not in downtown Seattle. 5 is like outside Tacoma, it's not even Tacoma. And he can build such a practice. I have other dentists that tell me like the cleaners spend $10,000 doing some of this work. At the end of the day, we cannot sell the need and really explain. I think that's my experience as a dentist, the first few years. But how like Dr. Hui say, it's a mind game. You're improving not against other people, but against yourself. It's really a mindset, and hopefully, as a group, as we share data, like why someone said the patient within a minute, and someone said patient with the 15 minutes play constantly running late, your hygienist, should, you know, change your mindset a little bit and start to see opportunities that driven by data that you might not be convinced otherwise to grab or even attempt. But anyways, that's how I felt as a dentist growing up all these years.
Okay, next question. Then what should we do now? What's the next step? Okay, the doctor one question. Okay, I answer this question. Come to join us in the San Antonio. Okay, then we together discuss what's the next. Okay. Okay, 下面是
But are we together, you know, like doing a DSO ourselves, or do you recommend to join somebody else to join? You know, there's so many DSO out there.
Okay. Dr. Xu answer this
You
question.
want me to answer that? I think that sounds like Lisa. But
Yes, it's me.
Lisa, how are you? Long time no see.
Yeah.
Very proud of you. Very proud of you. Anyway,
Thank you.
yeah, I mean, I can recognize your voice right away. Okay, obviously, we are trying to start our own, and I think the fact that we can start our own, we can control our path. Okay, our goal obviously to go to a much bigger dream, but you know, let's say the worst case scenario, we just sell to a bigger DSO like Heartland or Aspen. At least all of us have better opportunity. You know, we can have a, you know, more of a skewer way that we can be, you know, in charge of certain areas of the puzzle, and you know, we can have a more of a efficiency, because you know, we're going to create our streamline, and our streamline so far is basically, you know, in a way much better than most of the other DSO, because we have all these integration already, the software integration, and then different people. When you go to San Antonio, you see a whole bunch of other people that, you know, help you to grow. The only thing is, a lot of these people that help you to grow, like for example, you know, I went to you know, a class called Team Training Institute. You know, they're there many years ago, and the fees is a little bit high, but you know, there has been doctors been with them for the last 20 years. You know, they've been paying, you know, $4,000 to $6,000 every month, and then they keep going there because they're learning something. You know, so the value is there. The question is, instead of charging $4,000 to $6,000, can we make it $500? Can we make it easier for our team to achieve the goal? Because we all want to be successful. How can we make it? Obviously, there's always going to be a little bit of cost involved, but how can we together make it easier for us to grow, you know, and at least, you know, compete in a fair ground with the other bigger player? That's something that, you know, we all wanted to do. And then we can go up to, like the other guy was saying, you know, 18 times or, you know, 15 to 18 times what we can do, then, you know, we basically hit the jackpot. But then again, you know, I mean, that's something that is a little bit, you know, in the long-term goal, but what we should focus right now is how to start our baby step to integrate everything together, how to work with each other so that each of us can multiply our revenue, how to increase our profit. So at least we're DSO ready, so we can, one day we sell to another player, we can be successful. And then we can always, you know, as a bigger team, we can enjoy more, you know, opportunity at this point. So that's my temporary question answer at this point. Next question.
好
Thank you.
下一个是卢老师的 question 哈，他是more picky than now than a few years ago. What kind of the practice they are looking for? You mean the DSO now? The larger practice with more associates or small 1 million practice?
Okay, I can answer that one. I think because a lot of the bigger company, they're IPO already, that means they're in the public stock market, so they understand, you know, how the system is. So right now, what they're looking for is the EBITDA. I mean, to make it a little bit simple, to say what I always like to make it a simple analogy is they're looking for place with more profit. They're looking for office with more profit. So this way, it doesn't matter if you have 10 operatory or 15 operatory. They're looking, they're in the DSO, they have seen a lot of office that they work with. They will never start like that. But in the end, some of the office go to like $1 million per room. Okay, so per operatory, they're producing $1 million per year. So that's what they want to get to, So they focus on how much EBITDA the doctor is generating, and they also focus on the personality of the doctors, and those are the areas they focus on. So with our system, in a way, that we have connected network. That's a very, very key ingredient. So we have the HR, we have the AI coaching as far as what opportunity is better. We know that obviously most people is focused on full arch implants, full mouth rehab. Those cases have higher revenues. So those are the things that we should all focus on, as far as how to get it better. But the education of how to go into that, that's the part that we need to learn. Just like Dr. Allison have taken course, education, it probably took her many years. One time I asked her, and Dr. Hans, you can tell me if I'm wrong, she took, I think $6,500 per courses, and there's like 10 courses she had to take. So it's a very expensive, and it takes, quite a few years. So it's not something that you can, accomplish it in a year or, in a simple way. You have to learn that. But hopefully, if we have a team of people that have the education and can help us to get there sooner, just like Dr. John teach me how to do implants, so right away I jump into it and do it right away. I didn't take a big courses or many courses, so it's kind of helped me, to get started. And then I'll figure out what are the things that I need to learn along the line. And I think that's very important about implementations, because with every implementation, you're going to have a lot of feedback, and that's how you learn. Okay, that's just my quick answer. What's next?
Okay. Can I just add to it?
Sure.
I think I stand out some of the criteria that they are looking for. But definitely if they had to pick between one dentist office versus many multi-doctors, they will pick multi-doctors. If they had to pick multi-doctors or multi-locations, they'll pick multi-locations. And definitely, I think with this kind of inflation, they're looking at minimum 1.5 million to have the right kind of EBITDA right now. That's what a lot of these DSOs, because they're pickier and pickier, and that's what the market is going for right now. Because by purchasing a $1 million practice, adding that to your revenue is no longer the case. It has to be functionable. You have to de-risk. So basically, to consider a healthy practice, I just sent in the chat group, it's like proximity to the, a good population, like a good sized population, the connection to community, like how long been there, what's your rating, things, professional culture, do you have a high turnover rate, like it has to be staff been supported. If you do have a high turnover rate, like ideally a low turnover rate. Integration system is the key element for a lot of DSOs. You don't want to buy a mom and pop burger, you rather buy a McDonald's, because then since day one, that the business, you don't like, you run, the business will be runnable, right? You don't have to put a lot of effort to make it systemized. Whereas a mom and pop is so unpredictable. Definitely they prefer multi-site, and definitely they want a high EBITDA. So right now we're looking at 1.5 and above. That's what most the criteria to participate in DSO. But I don't think this is what we want to do. I think or ultimate goal is to help everyone to grow, to maybe to invest in a great level.
Dr. John, I think your mic is mute.
Okay, sorry. This is the last question. Amanda, I think Dr. Gu asked Dr. Han, My billing person says, if you are not in network, the insurance company don't give you the Kate breakdown.
Breakdown.
Is it true? I have been using Dentrix for 10 years and don't plan to change the software. When will your software integrate the Dentrix? That's for Dr. Han.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you repeat one more time?
It's in the chat box. My billing person says, if you are not in the network, the insurance company don't give you the category breakdowns. Is that true? Is this true? I have been using the Dentrix software for 10 years. Don't plan to change the software. When will your software integrate with the Dentrix?
Oh yeah, we will integrate, but it'll take a little time, but soon, because EagleSoft, Open Dental, Dentrix are the three major that will cover 80% of the US market for us. So definitely Dentrix is our next to go PMS software. Dr. Amanda, Dr. Juan, when you say that the category breakdown, like what category are you talking about?
Yeah. 这个郭医生，您在吗？OK，那可能还没在，那个是。
So I think what she meant is that if she's not in the network, because a lot of times, if you're not in the network for certain insurances, they might not give you the breakdown. That's actually is a normal thing. And then, and then that's why is actually more critical, because DSO usually, NDSO actually have people who negotiate the contract, and generally they can boost up the contract for another 20% higher. So that's something that being a DSO, they actually have another 20% of revenue from the PPO situation. So that will help you, how, a lot of people today, they basically want to get rid of all the insurance and go fee for service. Okay. It's a difficult task. It's not an easy task. A lot of the guru is, teaching everybody to do that. But I think, I'm not so sure if that's the right approach. But I think, you need to do that slowly, because not everybody can do that. But for us, we probably might be able, because a lot of our patients Chinese. But I think going forward, we're still in America. We still have to cater to the American population, and that's something that we have to focus on. I guess there's no more question.
Yes，好，各位医生啊，今天搞了很长时间哈。那个，我再说一下的，这个 Dr. 旭呢，他还在路上开着跟这个孩子打球回来，就是没有信号，他就没有进来。他感谢哈我们大家去 San Antonio，OK。那我呢，今天吧或者明天我做一个因为我们这个 workshop Dr. 韩 Dr. 会还有。一些我们到会，我们邀请一些像 PE 啦、management 啦、finance 的这些 group 呢，关于 DSO 的这种，我们形成一个 workshop，一天的 workshop 在18号。那我会做一个 group，希望大家能够参加，我们一起到 Houston 来相聚，好不好？我们来决定我们下一步应该怎么办，好不好？那我们今天就到这里啊。谢谢 Dr. Han， 谢谢 Dr. Hui。Okay, have a good night. Have a good Labor Day.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. 大家好，大家好。
拜拜。
Thank you all.